are now being joined by Bukola Idowu, who is the Executive Director of Impact Development Initiative, an organization that inspires citizen-led democratic development anchored on principles of participation, data-driven advocacy, and building of strong democratic institutions. Thank you so much, Bukola, for joining us on the news tonight. We do appreciate your time. On the Osun election, we're counting down days now to that election. Do you have a preliminary assessment of what we're likely to see in this election?
Thank you very much. I think on the 16th of this month, which is the day of the election, the preliminary assessment we are likely going to see, according to what we have seen on ground, is that we are likely going to see a situation where INEC preparation is going to be this time around top notch. We expect that the polling unit is going to open. They are going to open the polling unit on time this time around. Looking at the preparation of INEC, distribution of non-sensitive materials to those super racks, and again, you look at the terrain of Osun State. I mean, there is no riverine area, so we expect that the opening of polls is going to commence as soon as possible in this election. That again, we also expect that the citizens are going to come out. Looking at what we have on ground now, it looks like the citizens are ready to exercise their franchise in this election. And we've been seeing a lot of people campaigning, and both parties have been doing house-to-house campaigning, and they have been doing a lot of campaigns around. You look at the APC mega rally yesterday, and today Labour Party, and then tomorrow the PDP is going to conduct their own. So we've seen influx of people trooping into most of these rallies, and then we expect that this election is going to be, of course, conducted in a free and fair atmosphere. That is our expectation. However, we also observe a lot of things that we've been raising concerns on, and we'll be calling the security agencies to see what they can do to some of these things, because there are actually a potential for violence as we approach this election. And of course, some of them is that there have been a lot of accusation from both parties in terms of vote buying, and this vote buying has just been institutional vote buying. Now, when I say institutional vote buying, we've been seeing a political party trying to capture institutions, both non-formal and former institution sectors. Now you see some of these associations declaring for political party, and that is what has been going on. And we say one of the things we are also saying is that most of the vote buying you are going to see on the election, they are just going to be the retail buying. Now, vote buying has been going on now, and and this calls for concern. And then we also raise concern about some of the what we call questionable empowerment that most of these parties have been doing close to the election, which can also can be categorized as inducement. And again, I also want to say that one of the concern is that we want the citizen who are going to be in the new polling units that have just been created in Osun State, over 700 of them. In 2018 election, Osun State have 3,010 polling units. Now Osun State have, in this 2022 election, Osun State has 3,763 polling units. So like over 700 polling units have been created. So we don't know how well citizens of the state understand or know where some of their polling units are. Like we see in Ekiti, we don't want a repeat of that in Osun State. But at the same time, we expect pretty good election.
Great, and you've reeled out quite a number of points and issues and areas of concern for you at Impact. But let's talk about INEC and the reassurance that votes will count. Speak to that and talk about the quality of campaigning. I asked our correspondent Obadewi earlier, what are you hearing from the politicians in a way that it makes it easy and for the voters to decide who exactly they want to line up behind? Are you hearing in terms of the real issues, what these candidates will do if they become governor? Are you hearing that?
So I think most of the campaigns have not been issue-based campaign. What we've been having have been, for instance, our analysis at Kimpat. One of the things we observe is that there have been attack and there have been defense. Of course, one of the parties have been on the defensive side and the other one have been on the attacking side, and so we've not really have issue-based campaign. Now, aside that, we've also observed in some of this campaign, because we've been tracking the campaign for some time now, and we also observed that most times it has always been a personality attack, whether someone go to school, whether someone did not go to school, whether someone is a stooge of a particular godfather or not, and you begin to hear campaign like you don't want to be a slave forever, you don't want to be a laborer. And the real issue in terms of economy, how do you improve the standard of living? How do you improve the GDP of the state? How do you improve the internally generated revenue of the state? What are you going to do in educational sector? We have not seen that. We've just seen only one party or two parties that have a well publicized manifesto. Unfortunately, they are not part of the major contender in the election. So that calls for worry, because now we begin to see a campaign that is full of attack, and then this can also be termed as dangerous speech, and most times the followers take this, and this, like we flag, can also be like a potential for violence. So we've not really seen much, and I'm not saying they don't have, but we've not seen much of issue-based campaign in this election.
Okay, Mr. Bukola, two things I want you to speak to. Something you said earlier about security and potential for violence to occur. A peace accord was signed today by major political parties in this election. To what extent do you think that peace accord douses the tension in the state at the moment? And secondly, your organization is key on participation, voter participation. INEC has just said just about 1.5 million PVCs have been collected. Is it too early to talk about the level of participation in this election on Saturday?
So I think it's too early to talk about the level of participation in this election until we begin to see what happened on Friday. Now, in most of the election, people don't really understand that there are a lot of indices around participation of voters. Number one is their nearness to the polling unit. Now, don't forget, on the election day, transportation system is shut down. So people need, some people don't want to trek a long distance to their polling unit. So, and that is why we are calling on INEC. Probably they can paste a voters register on time. If they do paste that, not waiting on the election day like they normally do, if they can paste it a day before, people can actually go and know that, oh, I am in the new polling unit now, or this is where I am now. And then if they want to relocate nearby, they need to do that, because when people discover that I'm going to trek a long distance and there's not going to be a transportation system, that alone is going to affect the turnout. Number two is why we keep saying the security agencies are doing a show of force. As important as that is to shield away miscreants, at the same time, when you see that kind of show of force, now there is a way, most especially mothers and women, tell their children or say, look, you have to stay at home. This with what I am seeing, you see armor tanks. I'm not armor tanks now. You see military convoy now. You see like a show of force, and it's a whole lot of it paints a scary environment, and people want to stay at home and then be alive than to go to the on the election day. Then again, another thing that also affects turnout is what is the rhetorics of the politicians. You know, when you begin to hear politicians say this election is going to be fire for fire, it's going to be do or die, people don't want to go and die, people want to stay at home. So these are a lot of factors that we encourage voters turnout. However, the security agencies need to come out, assure the people. Of course, like in one of our research we conducted in Osun, and then like about greater percentage of people said, look, they are going to come out if there is going to be a secured environment, and the secured environment is key in an election. Nobody want to go and nobody want to come out and vote and die. So we want the security agency to assure the people that, look, in this election that is coming, they are going to stay neutral and they are going to ensure what we call safety of the people. And I'm saying this from one or two people we observe, and what the people are also saying on the street. If you look at 2018 election, after the first election, the supplementary election that happened in few polling units, and then you had issues where the election was practically a non-election at all because of the partiality of the security forces just the similar partisan of the people that disallow some voters to access the polling unit. So most of these things are just what can cause discouragement to people. But however, we expect that people will turn out and vote. And one of the reasons why we expect that is that if you look at the recent voter registration going on, Osun State has the highest in the whole of Nigeria. New registration in Osun State is over 300,000. New registration in Osun State, and that is the highest in Nigeria. So when you look at that statistic, it shows eagerness from the people of the state that they want to vote. However, we also now need to begin to scrutinize that this registration, is it towards this election or towards 2023 election? 2023 election. So, however, but when you look at it plus or minus, we are expecting that, look, maybe with our prediction, we are looking at, we should have maybe like 2%, nothing less than 2% above the turnout in the last election, looking at what we have on ground.
All right, thank you very much. An average of 30% turnout to vote across the country. Let's hope there will be much improvement. Bukola Idowu is Executive Director, Impact Development Initiative. Thank you very much for joining us.